Hey, it's Olympics time. But have the games been marred by controversy this year? Did the opening ceremonies include an attack on Christians? Are women being forced to box men? What should the Christian response be to this? All happening next on the DudeFax podcast.
Welcome to the DudeFax podcast. We're four guys who in the past all served in the same youth ministry together. Now, more than 10 years later, 10 years older, but not really 10 years more mature, we felt it was time to join forces once again. So now we create weekly podcasts dealing with pop culture, ministry, and church life, and mixed all throughout is a healthy dose of the humor you would only expect from old youth pastors. So if you love Jesus, the local church, and laughter, you're going to fit right in. We encourage you to sit back, relax, grab an ice cold Dr. Pepper, and enjoy this week's episode of the DudeFax podcast.
Hey, everybody, boys and girls, welcome to the DudeFax podcast. I'm here with Ryan, and you'll notice there's only half of us on the episode today. Maybe you didn't notice because you're listening to this and you haven't heard two more voices.
Maybe you didn't hear the breaths of two other people.
That's right. You didn't hear Grant rubbing his microphone, which somebody commented on that this week.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get into that. But Grant could not be with us. I don't remember why. He's granting somewhere. Josh has a legitimate just need, and we just want to encourage you to pray for him and his family. I think he's doing all right, but just dealing with a lot right now, and we trust that he'll be back next week. But you're with me and Ryan tonight, and we're excited because we're talking about the games of the Paris Olympiad. I don't remember what number this is, like 33 or something.
I lose track.
Yeah.
I always feel like we're on a higher Olympic number than we actually are.
I was going to say the
It
same
only
thing.
happens every 4 years. I'm always like, oh, this has got to be like the 100-something Olympics. Like, no, this is only like number 30-something.
Yeah, when they say 30, I'm like, man, it feels like it's only been around a few years. Like, come on. We've had more Super Bowls.
Yes.
And then you think about ancient Olympics. It's like, wasn't this going on like way back in the day?
Yeah.
Like,
At what point did they decide, like, yeah, we just don't care about that? This is where we're starting.
I would like to research more. I'm sure people have done it. I just haven't.
Oh, yeah.
Research more about the games of the ancient Olympiad. I mean, did we have like naked archery?
That's most things were probably naked.
I think running the marathon was naked.
I think one of the things that was just like a casualty of that was just men slathered up in olive oil, just like wrestling with each other.
That sounds like a typical day in the CLV, especially in New Providence. But we won't go there tonight. Yeah, instead we're going to talk about the Olympics and America's dominance.
America!
Of course, we have the most medals right now, and you're listening to this on Monday, so hopefully we still have the most medals. This is Thursday night.
I find it funny that I was like browsing TikTok the other night, and some video came up about was it like Sudan like almost beating America in basketball, and
almost
somebody in the comments said the U.S. should play other countries in sports more. It would be a humbling experience. And then to which I was already confused about that, but then I read like the first reply, and the guy was like, he said America has more gold medals in the Olympics than the next two countries combined. And looking it up, like here, I'll just
that's wild. That's right.
These numbers are crazy. So America has the most gold medals at 1,086 gold medals. The next highest country is the Soviet Union, or I guess Russia. I don't know if they're combining. I assume they're counting the Soviet Union and Russia as like one.
Yeah, and see, that's not even fair. That's like two countries.
But they have 394. And then the next after that is the United Kingdom with 296. Like,
wow,
they're not even half the amount of gold medals that America has.
So we're
I
still
think that
spanking Great Britain.
yeah, I think that we're doing fine. I don't think that I think that most of the professionals in that are like top level in sports, especially like team sports, are from America. Not that there aren't other ones from other countries, but a lot of them, are born and bred in America.
Yeah. You just can't touch us.
Oh
And what's
yeah.
funny is Russia will probably say something like, well, we're not allowed to be in all the Olympics. Well, that's your own problem. And still, even if you were, it wouldn't even be close. So
Yeah, maybe don't cheat
get out
next
of here.
time and you won't get disqualified
Yeah.
from the Olympics.
Well, speaking of controversy, these games have been marred maybe a bit by a little bit of controversy. And we haven't talked about this. So there was the opening ceremonies in which it was very French. I mean, I don't know how much you saw of it. We were watching it. To me, it just came across being very French and very weird, which a
Yeah.
lot of the opening ceremonies are a little on the artsy, weird side of all the
Especially
Olympics.
in like the last 20 years, like they've all pretty much been that way. It's not like the 80s and 90s where it was just some muscled up person, firing an arrow into the distance.
Yeah. Or Muhammad Ali shaking with his Parkinson's. I think at the Atlanta Olympics.
Oh yeah.
Very inspiring. But we had Snoop Dogg carrying the torch, but anyways, during the opening ceremonies, of course, there was the whole scene that got compared to the Lord's Supper. And to be honest, I didn't even make that connection as I was watching it. I was too busy, like, weirded out. I was like, what is going on here? Some weird fashion show.
Yeah. It was very like I as a heavy metal music fan really loved the beginning of it, and
Oh, yeah.
it definitely was started out very inspired by like felt like I was watching like Les Mis or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, at a certain point it just started getting really avant-garde and like strange to watch.
which is very French. I
Yeah.
mean, you're already floating in boats down a poopy river that now you're forcing people to swim in.
Yeah.
What else do you expect? But I thought it was funny how you had the big boats for like the USA and like France and those countries that had a lot of athletes. And then you have like poor like Liechtenstein, and you just got like two guys on a canoe. It's
It's
like so
actually their
sad.
rowing team. There's the only people competing.
But anyway, Christians seem to be outraged by
Mm.
the opening ceremonies, even calling for a boycott, many of them, because they thought that particular scene was portraying the Lord's Supper and mocking it. I personally don't think it was meant to mock the Lord's Supper. I didn't even think that from the beginning. I can see where maybe it looks similar because they're all sitting on one side. But
Yeah,
even
it's not
if
like
it
a
was,
unique framing for like people. Like
yeah,
it's like that's a very common way, like in like when it comes to like design and framing a picture to put people. It's
sure.
not necessarily my first thought that I jump to.
But, even if it did, one, it's just a painting, people. It's just a painting.
Yeah,
It's not the actual Jesus. It's
there's
a
absolutely
painting.
nothing
And
holy
we
about
can get
Leonardo
all
da Vinci's last supper.
and we can get all into that. But I think more than that, what disgusted me was the fact that fellow Christians are just getting way too bent out of shape and angry about being made fun of instead of having genuine burden for
Mm,
people that are lost and misguided. That's where our energy should be, like genuine burden for those people. I would rather spend that energy loving people and showing them Jesus than getting upset because I'm being made fun of. Jesus himself said that the world would make fun of us, would persecute us. It comes with the territory. So we
mm,
shouldn't be surprised as Christians. We shouldn't be surprised when we see sin glorified. And I certainly don't think that it's the athlete's fault, for the opening ceremony. I'm sure some French artist was in charge of it.
yeah.
And thus I'm not choosing to boycott the Olympics over this.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a stretch to decide to boycott, but I think that's a problem. Not only like this is just the most recent example, but I think it's been a problem for a while now, and maybe even historically to a point where I feel like we as Christians can very culturally be reactionary to things like
Yeah.
that, and instead of like using that as an opportunity for you know talking to people and like opening a discussion and actually trying to love on people and understand people, we decide to dig our heels in and get upset about something and essentially like drive people further away.
Yeah. And absolutely, there are times in which we should speak up, be bold. And I think, especially when it comes to things like injustice and, standing up for, um, you know, what scripture calls us to. We're supposed to care for widows. We're supposed to care for orphans. And so
Mhm.
those people that don't have a voice, so to speak, to speak up, that's where our energy should be. We need to ensure that we are speaking up when the time is right. But just getting outraged, I feel like it's very contagious. And so
Mhm.
today, if you're listening to this, obviously it's a few days from now, and maybe more developments will have come out. But today, you had the French boxer versus the Algerian boxer,
Mhm.
and this was women's boxing, and the bout lasted 42 seconds before the female Italian boxer quit because she was what I believe was scared, was hurt, and basically fell to the floor in tears. And it turns out that the Algerian, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, Khalif, has been basically under scrutiny, along with another boxer, I believe, from Taiwan, because this particular boxer failed to meet gender eligibility test at the Women's World Boxing Championships. And
Mhm.
so right now, the story is we don't really know if this is indeed a male boxing a female, but the outrage and the story is already out there, especially
Right.
amongst
Yeah,
fellow
it's
Christians,
very
that,
much
hey, we
being
are
presented as
allowing a
fact.
man to punch a woman.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't necessarily want us to get into that. We can save that discussion for another time.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't think that we should be putting men and women in a boxing ring with each other, but we're not going to get into this particular case. But again, it's the rush to outrage. And it's almost what I'm seeing is sort of a pride in, hey, look, we were right. We were right. This is why this is a problem. Instead of one, feeling upset and sorrowful for the Italian boxer who trained and got here, but also thinking maybe if indeed this turns out to be what is initially being reported, maybe this could be a good thing. Maybe we can learn from this in terms of getting this right. But instead, there's such a rush to outrage. But besides all of that, it goes back to the point of us as Christians wanting to display Christ, wanting to display love, having genuine burden for people, but also I think highlighting some of the beautiful things that are happening at the Olympics. And so I want us to spend more time on that in this first part. And then we're going to get into a fun second part and just kind of leave you with two parts today.
Mhm.
But I want us to highlight some of the awesome things that are happening. One, I'm going to bring up some amazing Christian athletes that are doing great things at the Olympics and that are going to be doing great things at the Olympics. And so we're going to get into that here in just a bit. But Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot here because I didn't ask you before to share this. But what have been some of those maybe fun, heartfelt moments for you watching the Olympics? Because this is exciting. It's a time where our nation can sort of come together, which we don't get a lot of times. Even our world come together, which we don't get a lot of times.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely. I mean, watching kind of us as a country and a community come around teams like our swimming team who won the gold, and oh, I forget the girl swimmer's name that just won gold
Oh, Ledecky.
yesterday and got the Olympic record.
Yeah, Katie Ledecky.
Ledecky, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she's incredible.
So like watching her, watching these just like, and then watching, of course, like the U.S. men's basketball team and things like that, and watching people rally around that, and just seeing kind of the atmosphere of joy and just celebration of these incredible athletes. That's the stuff that I like seeing in the Olympics, and that's the stuff that really like
Yeah.
makes it worthwhile to keep up with and watch. And that's that's what I like to focus on usually in the Olympics, because I don't necessarily watch everything, but it's really cool to watch just us as a country come together and kind of participate via our athletes in this like worldwide competition, and, friendly competition in most cases.
Absolutely. And it's, to echo that, I've been encouraged by the swimming. It's been fun to watch that and to see Katie Ledecky dominate for so long. And speaking of that, Simone Biles the same way.
Mm-hmm.
To see her come back and Team USA win gold there is exciting. Her to win individual gold, and then the men's gymnastics team, who normally struggles to win anything, to see them get a medal was really cool. Neat story. And one that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And by the way, I've gotten so into rugby during these Olympics, which I don't know why I haven't like loved rugby before. It is so fun to watch.
From the women's Ireland rugby team, where one girl
Yeah.
like picks the other one up to catch the ball.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's so awesome.
But yeah, our US team got bronze, beating Australia really in an upset. And that was awesome. A former cadet of mine at West Point, who's on the team, she was representing. She scored. What are they called? Not touchdowns. I forget what they're called. Tries. She scored a couple tries, which was awesome. And man, that was an encouraging story. So it's things like that I think we as Christians can miss out on, things like that when we choose to. I think get outraged over things that I'm not going to say aren't a big deal, over things that I think ultimately don't tell the whole story, such as just assuming because the Olympic ceremony may have seemed to make fun of Christians. Well, I'm going to boycott all these amazing athletes who put in all this work, who had nothing to do with the opening ceremony, by the way. Who have just put in some amazing work. I mean, what an awesome story. A former cadet who's now an Army captain fighting for our country, and she's going and playing for the women's rugby team, and we're pulling this upset on Australia. So awesome. Mm-hmm. And then, to add to that, the Christian athletes, because there's a lot of them. There are a lot of Christian athletes who are doing this and bringing glory to God in such an amazing way. And I think that's where our energy needs to be, not so much on how can I be outraged and call attention to that, but how can I help these Christian athletes glorify God and look how they're bringing attention to what God is doing in their life. And so I just wanted to highlight a few. I'm reading through Sports Spectrum, which is a Christian sports magazine. And it actually has Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. She was in the last Olympics, but she's on the cover. And she's a hurdler, which already I give her great respect, because hurdling is hard. Oh, yeah. When I did track in high school, that was probably the event that wore me out the most, to have to run and like continually jump. But she's crushing it. She goes out there and just dominates. But just let me read a few quotes from her. I don't want to read her whole story. I encourage you to go look it up. But she says, getting in a community with people who I truly saw living in that freedom and then that joy that Jesus brought over time truly introduced me to the concept, to the point where then I was able to build my own relationship with Jesus. She's talking about her coming to faith, and just the fact that she is unashamed of it. And then she says, I'm going to stick to the same script of going out there to honor and glorify God and leaving it all out there on the track. And whatever happens, happens. When she was asked about this upcoming Olympics, she is very outspoken in her faith, and just an incredible athlete to I think admire. She's on commercials. There's a couple commercials out there. She's probably one of the more famous athletes. I love track and field. Those are some of my favorite events. So I'm excited to see Sydney go out there and crush it. And at the end of the day, also bring that glory to God. But talking about swimming, there's a swimmer who was on that relay team. I think you were mentioning earlier, Ryan, who won, men's relay team that won the gold, Hunter Armstrong. And he's actually the guy who crushed it. He was the one who really almost single-handedly helped the American team win. And he said this. He said, I don't know why I was put on this stage. I never saw myself becoming an Olympian, but here I am. I truly felt like God had been begging for me to use this gift that he gave me. And I kept just not ignoring it, but not embracing it. And he's talking about how he really feels strongly about using his gift to not only just win and win gold, but to ultimately glorify God. And he said, I'm just along for the ride. I didn't expect to be here in the first place. So I'm here until God tells me to stop. And it's just really neat to see another Olympian who has success in his sport, also just very outspoken about his faith. And then one more I'll call your attention to. There's so many in here, I could just keep going. I'm excited about this particular athlete. This is Anna Hall. So she is actually doing the decathlon. So she's doing all the events. Just a track and field star. And she is very outspoken in her faith, very much talks about her time in the Word and her faithfulness and how much that relates to her training as an athlete. But she says, you just spend time in the Word, even if you don't understand it yet, and eventually it's going to sink in and transform your mind. She is expected to potentially medal in these Olympics, but she is just an athlete that, I have kids who play sports, kids who look up to these Olympians, and we've all been watching it together and getting really excited and be inspired by Americans. But she's an athlete that I definitely want to call attention to in terms of pointing her out to my kids, so that they see somebody who's doing something at the highest level, but at the same time giving God all the glory. And so those are just a few. And I bring those up because I just want to encourage our listeners to think about the things we get fired up by and outraged by. And obviously there are times in which that may be needed, but I think oftentimes, like you said earlier, Ryan, we're real quick to react instead of looking at the bigger picture and seeing what is the best use of this energy to really show Christ to the world. Because I think when we get outraged, we don't really show the real Christ to the world. But secondly, we also paint a very disgusting picture. And to bring this back full circle, when we, in the image of God, destroy that image, even if we think we're doing it, for the right reasons, getting outraged over something that we think is making fun of a painting, we in turn are painting our own perverted picture of the gospel that I think does more damage to the cause of Christ than some group out there of non-Christians that are just doing something because they're sinners, not saying it's right, but they're doing it because they're sinners and they don't know any better, and us getting outraged by it. Think about that. And that's my soapbox. I'm not going to go any further than that. I could do this all day.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's always a good thing to remember, is that, you can't you can only like blame somebody so much for, you know, when that's the world that they live in, and that's, you know, they haven't been you know, shown the truth of Jesus, and don't have that foundation. You can only expect them to deal with so much. And when we act so reactionary and offended to things like that, we're putting our own pride in the way, and that
That's right.
is getting in the way of, you know, of the greater cause of the gospel.
Yep. It absolutely is. And that's the most important thing. And then second is getting in the way of you watching the US dominate.
USA! 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 USA!
And by the way, if you're not watching handball, what are you really doing with your life? I mean, come on. I mean, if you have not watched a Slovakian handle a handball,
Somehow on my like TikTok feed got like into handball videos at one point, and it was
well, it says your recording has stopped, Ryan. So maybe this is a good time for us to stop. So we will stop. And maybe you're not hearing Ryan, but you're hearing me. But we are going to come back for part 2 of the DudeFax podcast. We will see you in just a bit.
hey guys, you want a cool DudeFax logo T-shirt like this one, or maybe a cool coffee mug or hat, or some of our other shirts and limited designs that we got on our website? Well, if you want to check that out, you can go to dudefaxpodcast.com and you can find links to all our merch there. Please go out there, support us. We love you guys. We'd love to see you repping our stuff. And you know, share some pictures maybe of you wearing it, and we might be able to share it on the show, share it on our Instagram, let people get a look at you. But anyways, we appreciate y'all. Go check that out and have a good one. Well, hopefully everyone's with us and is here for our second segment. Had some potentially audio issues, some video issues. You may or may not have seen me at the end of seen or heard me at the end of the last segment, but we're here now. So this we want to do a couple things. So I got some things we're going to look at here in a minute. Some potentially controversial items to look at with the best fast food restaurant in the United States. We'll get there in a minute. But first, let's delve into some comments from this last week.
It's time for comments.
Boom. And hopefully my recording doesn't
die this time.
Take a big old dump on it.
Ooh.
Much like I imagine this person's car was. So last week we talked about the Wienermobile overturning, and we talked about what other food themed cars would it be funny to see getting a car wreck on the interstate. And Chris on TikTok said the Krabby Patty mobile.
Ooh, I like it.
Which is that is the Krabby Patty made out of plankton bodies?
I've always wanted to try a Krabby Patty. I mean, they just seem like they're really good.
I don't know. I mean, the for a cartoon, it definitely looked the best I could ever think of a cartoon piece of food looking, and it always looked kind of delicious. I wanted to try.
And the Krusty Krab pizza.
Oh yeah, I just want to sing the song.
Yeah, Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza for you and me.
Just don't forget the drink. Yeah.
Diet Dr.
So then,
Kelp.
also on the same video on TikTok, Sir Corky722 said, "I'm so uncomfortable for that mic. He is just manhandling the SH asterisk out of it." In reference to Grant and his very touchy feeliness with his mic while we were recording. I didn't really notice that much, but this man apparently was made very uncomfortable by it. So I think Grant would probably
I
be
noticed
happy
it.
to know that he did that.
I could hear it, and I think I mentioned it on the podcast, like live on the podcast, that he needed to stop manhandling his mic, but he didn't.
Well, maybe he'll listen next time, and Sir Corky won't be as upset.
Yeah.
Um,
Or maybe I sent him a text in the middle of the podcast. I don't remember. Either way, I told him he needed to stop.
and then one other comment from last week. So we talked some biblical illiteracy statistics and posted a video on that. And the painting man, or just painting man on Facebook, which is an interesting name because on Facebook you normally see people's real names,
Yeah.
said the Bible is fictional, created by man to control gullible fools, and then made it to where you couldn't comment on his comment. So those are interesting. Painting man, if you are listening, we disagree with you, obviously. But you know,
Very
if you
much
want to
so.
talk about it anytime, we'd love to have a discussion with you. If you want to leave your comments open and
Yeah.
available for people to respond to.
We appreciate you commenting, but don't just drop a dollop and leave. If you
Yeah,
drop a
exactly.
dollop, you got to stick around and deal with the mess. So
The whole point of DudeFaxing is to drop a dollop and stay and experience some brotherhood and discussion.
That somebody left a turd on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
next time.
Next time, yep. So yeah, so that does it for our comments. If you are listening or watching out there, please go check out our socials. We post clips there all the time. We'd love to see your comments and get you guys responding. You might even get yours read out on the following week's episode. And funnier the better. Or I mean, even if you don't like us, you can tell us that too. We like to read those things too. We're indiscriminate on the feedback that we share with other people.
That's right.
So getting on, so from our first segment here, we talked about some controversial things going on with the Olympics and some ways people are feeling. But to get even more into the controversy, I want to go over. So USA Today posted the reader ranked 10 best fast food restaurants in the United States.
The reader ranked.
Reader ranked, yes. So this isn't some just rando making an article for the USA Today website. So this is actually readers voted for these options. So I want to see what your thoughts are here. So we'll start out with number 10 here. A little softball. I'm not surprised, but I also think there's better options. This one seems a little basic, but number 10 is Arby's, which I do love me some Arby's and horsey sauce. So
oh yeah,
I can't knock it.
Curly fries are awesome.
Oh yeah, the curly fries. Have you seen that they have like regular fries now? You ever seen
forget their regular
I'm always
fries.
like, why? Why would you do that? The curly fries is the reason you come here.
The curly fries are the reason I ring the bell when I leave.
It's like I'm ringing these bells for the curly fries. I also like they have these like jalapeno popper things that with this like berry sauce. They call it Bronco berry sauce.
Interesting.
It's an interesting combination, but I always really like it. It's a good mix of sweet and spicy.
Oh, yeah.
And then from there, and I kind of identify with this a little bit because I eat this place quite a bit. Is number 9 is Zaxby's.
It is. It's pretty good.
I do like me some Zaxby's. They have good, pretty good seasoning on their chicken, and they have fried white cheddar bites, which I usually always get a order of. They're pretty good.
I really like Raising Cane's, which they're building one here in Clarksville.
I am excited about that. Yeah, they built one in Nashville over in like the Fifth and Broadway restaurant area, and I've gone a couple times when I'm at work in downtown, and I've gone over there and I get me some Raising Cane's. But I'm very excited to have one right down the street, so I can go whenever I want.
To me, it reminds me of Zaxby's. Both really good.
Yeah, very similar. Raising
People
Cane's,
like to pit them
reminds
against each
me-
other, but
Yeah, I'll probably eat it both.
It's
of
just
them.
good. Yep.
Raising Cane's reminds me of the kind of the Texas, more like Texas regional chicken restaurants that I ate at growing up.
Yeah.
Because Raising Cane's is like, people in Texas love Raising Cane's, but when I lived in Texas, Raising Cane's wasn't really a thing. So that wasn't until I moved here, and it kind of popped up after. But the chicken's very made in that same style. It's got kind of this like flaky golden crust on it, which is really
like Chicken Express.
Yeah, very similar to that. I still love me some Chicken Express. I
I
stopped
haven't had
there.
that in forever.
I stopped at one in like southern Arkansas when I was on my way through back from Texas and got me some corn nuggets and a sweet tea.
Ooh.
It was delicious. I'm surprised that there's not a lot of places in Clarksville to get corn nuggets. You'd think there'd be more restaurants in Tennessee selling corn nuggets.
The CLV needs much more in terms of corn nuggets.
Kev's got you covered.
Kev, if you can make that happen, we need the CLV to become a corn nugget haven.
If Kev just wants to make me some corn nuggets, I'll eat them.
Oh yeah,
I'll stop by his house. It's fine.
Dink and flicker.
Number 8 after Zaxby's is Popeyes.
I do like their chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, don't tell the Chick-fil-A fans out there they don't like to see the comparison, but I do think Popeyes has a pretty good chicken sandwich.
Yeah, it rivals.
And
no
just
doubt.
their spicy chicken tenders. Stuff's good.
Very underrated place to me. A lot of people knock it. I like it.
I think the problem with Popeyes is that like it's very dependent on the location, because some locations will just be a total dump, and then some of them will like actually be kind of nice and give you food that doesn't look like it's been sitting there for 3 hours. It just depends. Number 7 on the list, which the amount of times I eat here would tell you different, but I don't think it should be on this list. Number 7 is Taco Bell, which is a choice. Don't get me wrong, I eat Taco Bell pretty regular, but it's usually just because it's there. And
yep. I used to eat there all the time in my 20s, my teen years. But really, in the last like 10 years, I rarely, like maybe once a year, I might eat there. But I just had it like a week ago. And I'm just disappointed in the menu now. They dropped all the stuff that I love. So, Taco Bell gets on my nerves.
I made everything. I went there and got like a burrito supreme the other day, and it was like $5. I was like, good Lord.
Yeah. You used to be able to pay like $3 and get a whole meal. Now it's like $12.
I know. Oh, it's so sad. I remember the cheap days of Taco Bell. Those are great times when I was broke and in college.
Yep.
So number 6, this one I think might be the first real controversial one, is Captain D's. And that's my thoughts exactly.
Who eats at Captain D's? Do people actually eat there?
It's some of the most bland food I've ever eaten in my life. It's like they haven't even heard the word seasoning in their whole life, or salt. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that, and the ones in Clarksville just stink.
Yeah,
so I don't. Maybe there's a better Captain D somewhere in the country, but I don't. I don't think I've ever been to one.
I do think everything on their menu is fried.
Oh yeah, even
I think. Yeah. Even the salad is fried.
I just imagine they take it all, put it into a ball, and then deep fry it.
Because I think I went there one time. This has been years ago, and I got a bag, but then like my whatever fish and hush puppies were in like a box within the bag, and the grease just like dripped
Oh
through the
yeah.
box, through the bag, and I just had grease like all over my
Oh
passenger
yeah.
seat of
They
my
they
truck.
essentially hand you just a plastic bag full of grease
Yeah.
that maybe has a couple food items in it.
It's like just the fried food just sweats like a beast.
Oh, it's awful. And to call that fish, I think is being a
Yeah.
little generous.
I don't know what kind of Captain D is, but he needs to go back to culinary art school.
It's not as good a captain as Crunch, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's right.
Number 5 on the list is Hardee's.
Ooh, that's a controversial one.
That is because people, especially in the South, they love them some Hardee's, especially old people. Catch an
Yep.
old man going to Hardee's on like a Saturday morning at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
They do have
to
good
get up and get
breakfast.
food. They do have a good breakfast. I do like their breakfast. They used to. I used to work when I worked at nights at Gibson. There was a Hardee's right down the road when I'd leave work, and I'd usually grab a breakfast sandwich on my way home. It's
Mm.
pretty good.
They always have unique names for their burgers. It's like I can't keep up. It's like, hey, come eat the King Kong Death Burger at Hardee's. It's like 8 patties with bacon, and it's just dripping
And
with
you're just like,
grease.
why?
It's like, why? I want that, but why?
Why do you make that, and why do I want it?
Yep. Stop tempting me, Hardee's, you temptress.
So number 4, and I'm gonna a spoiler for the rest of the list because number 4 is In-N-Out Burger, which what is not on the list, which I think will upset a lot of the Texans that may or may not listen. Whataburger is not on the list at all.
What?
Yeah, but In-N-Out made it at number 4.
I do like In-N-Out.
In-N-Out, it's fine. It's. I think it's culturally like more popular than anything else. And I don't know. Maybe In-N-Out's better on the West Coast. I just feel like the times I've been there, it's just not. It's not. Maybe it's overhyped for me. Maybe it'd be better if I. Just
It probably
didn't have
is
the
overhyped.
expectations. But no, they're fine. If they open one in Clarksville, I'd probably eat there.
Yeah. I like it because the menu is easy. That is
that's true.
the number one selling point
Very
for
old
me.
diner style menu. Yeah,
Yeah.
very simple.
I don't have to I go into Taco Bell and it's like I'm trying to look up like arriving flights and where baggage claim is. I'm like, what? Because where?
Yep.
It's
Too many
difficult.
pictures. Like,
Yep.
yeah, In-N-Out Burger is better for that. And then like I feel like the more complicated version of In-N-Out's menu is like Five Guys, but they just have like some more like topping options and stuff like that. But it's still kind of simple. Just kind of like that real old style. Like we just have text on a white background menu.
Yep. Burger, cheeseburger.
Number 3, Chick-fil-A.
Ooh.
Yep.
The Lord's chicken is not number 1.
I know. And wait for the Christians to get outraged about this.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to get outraged, Christians, Chick-fil-A. I mean, obviously Christians are not reading USA Today because if it's a reader poll.
Right. Well, look, and we all love Chick-fil-A and we know Chick-fil-A. But the real outrage is what is right after that on this list. Number 2 is KFC.
Oh my god. That's a lie.
It has to be. I don't.
Who picks KFC
anymore?
Yeah. I mean, I will say they actually have a good chicken sandwich. I will say that. So I've had their chicken sandwich and it's pretty tasty. But other than getting their chicken sandwich, I don't go there for just like a bucket of fried chicken. Who does that?
No, I don't know. I mean, they're so like bad that like there used to be 4 here in Clarksville and they closed 3 of them.
Yeah.
There's only 1 left. Yeah, I don't.
They're
I
not
don't
as
understand.
finger licking good as they thought they were.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't understand KFC being over Chick-fil-A. I'd eat Chick-fil-A 10 times over before I eat KFC.
I've been to a KFC that had a buffet before, and that was nasty.
I miss the old school. Like when I was growing up, KFC I felt like was good, and they had like a good buffet. But even the one now, even if you find it with a buffet, you're like, man, this is some raunchy food.
Yeah. The Colonel is rolling over in his grave.
Oh yeah, he's definitely not happy.
Big old Kentucky Colonel.
And then number one, which this is actually one I don't have any experience with, so I don't know whether this is a good or bad pick. But number one is Del Taco.
That's an odd choice for number one.
Is an odd choice. Where are I've only ever seen Del Tacos in Florida. Are they, what region are they? From?
They're in Florida. There's some in Texas.
Are they? Okay.
Mm-hmm. There was, I believe there was one in the Fort Cavazos now, Colleen area. Because I've been to one a few times. I don't remember if they have them in Houston or not. Maybe.
Interesting.
But yeah, Florida definitely.
Well, I still say when it comes to like Mexican food adjacent fast food restaurants, I still say that of the two on this list, Taco Bell and Del Taco, I think that Taco Bueno beats both of them.
Yes,
and I always miss me some Taco Bueno.
It's more Bueno.
Oh yes,
definitely. Yeah, I'm surprised because I've had Del Taco, but nothing stands out to me like it being this amazing place. Like Taco Bueno does more than Del Taco.
Right,
to me.
Right. Is it better than Taco John's?
No, because Taco John's, you got the potato olays.
Oh, okay.
Which they're shutting all those down in Clarksville too. Oh, I think there's only one left off Rossview. Gotta go load up on olays before they close down.
So the last bastion. Oh, well, speaking of questionable food choices, I have a couple of fun videos I would like to share with you and our listeners.
Do they have great sound too?
They've got pretty good sound.
Okay. That way they'll be able to hear if they're just listening.
Yeah. You'll definitely be able to.
We can also describe, I guess.
Let me share this here. All right. You see that?
Yep.
All right. So I want you to watch this and you know those old like cooking shows where people, just be like a woman, not even a chef, just somebody like making food. And you're like, why are you making food? I don't know what this is about.
Oh yeah.
This is one of those, and you may recognize
Rachel Ray
or may not, but I just want you to listen to the ingredients that she's going through making this meal. And tell me what you think.
Great. She looks like a Karen. I can't hear it yet.
You can't hear it?
Nope. I don't hear it. Is that Uncle Ben's rice?
Yes, Uncle Ben's instant rice.
We're not allowed to call him Uncle Ben anymore, are we?
I don't know. I feel like Uncle Ben's a nice term.
Yeah. Like Spider-Man.
Let's see. Am I doing something wrong on sharing my screen? Hold on just a second.
Yeah, I can see it. It's a little choppy, but I don't hear it. So setting scene, this looks like it may be really... I don't know. It kind of has a Full House, Who's the Boss type kitchen look.
Yeah, so I'll kind of like give a play-by-play here. So she's talking about making cherry almond rice.
Cherry almond rice?
So she's simmering some cherries and adding some.
It looks like
instant
black
rice.
Beans.
It does. So she seems very positive about this. She's simmering some cherries and rice on the stove. Adding
that already sounds gross.
Chili powder.
Sort of like three things that don't belong together.
And then she's putting some salt for a little flavor.
Okay. I mean, like maybe chili powder and rice, maybe.
And now she's adding 2 tablespoons of semi-sweet chocolate chips.
Ugh. What?
She keeps saying how delicious it is.
Yeah, she's looking way too positive. Are those steaks?
So these are some steaks, yeah, and she's gonna season them with a little bit of taco meat seasoning.
What?
And
Is she just
literally
grabbing crap out of her
the
pantry?
lightest dusting of seasoning, like not much at all.
She just had a bunch of stuff that she needed to clean out of her pantry.
That is exactly what it sounds like, because none of this makes any sense.
Who gave this lady a cooking show?
This just keeps going, like, so just keep this in mind. So putting some olive oil in a pan.
Yeah, listeners, you're just gonna have to imagine the scene. We're setting it for you.
Olive oil in a pan, some diced jalapenos,
Yeah.
some onions.
I can't read that. What does it say on her shirt?
I think it's like this is like a chocolate themed episode, so something, or maybe it just says Coke on her shirt.
Coke.
Yeah, which I hope is talking about the soda.
It looks like an old logo.
She put some garlic in that pan, and maybe it says cook.
Oh,
cook
those
very lightly seasoned steaks on the pan. Oh, make sure you wash your hands with soap and water. Don't want to forget.
And she's doing all this cooking wearing straight white clothing.
Straight white.
So if she spills anything.
Okay. She's chopping up a chocolate bar.
Some more chocolate.
Some more chocolate. And this is going to go in the pan with the onions, jalapeno, and garlic and olive oil. And some red wine.
All right. What a mixture.
An onion seasoning packet. I don't know what that is. I don't know what an onion seasoning packet is. Maybe like French onion dip seasoning or something like that.
She is definitely just scraping the bottom of the barrel out of that pantry.
All I know is watching this just makes my stomach bubble.
So what is she actually making?
So she's making cherry almond rice with steaks, and then is making this like chocolate onion wine sauce mixture that she's gonna layer on top of the rice and put the steaks on top of.
So this is the second SpongeBob reference that we're going to have on the show, but it reminds me of like his peanut onion sundae that gave him and Patrick bad breath.
Very much the same thing. And then watching her plate this, so she puts all the rice and the cherry almond rice into the bowl, and it just looks awful to me. She said it's delicious. I still have yet to.
Maybe we need to try to recreate this and see if it's any good.
Yeah, there's her weird chocolate wine onion sauce mixture. And she's going to slap those steaks right on top of that.
That's just like, it's like ruining a good piece of meat, it looks like. I mean, the meat was appetizing.
I've never thought about putting chocolate and like all this stuff in my ingredients. And she's going to make an almond chocolate fondue when she comes back from the break, which we're not going to watch. But
oh, man. Yeah.
So
it's bad. And that's a scary face you left it on.
It's probably pretty accurate to what's left on. So this woman, she I guess used to have a cooking show or something like that, and this one's a lot shorter, but I also want to kind of show this, and I don't know if you can hear this one either, but she loves cherries for some reason.
This is the same woman?
Yeah, same woman.
Okay. Do we have a name of this lady, just in case anybody wants to look her up?
Her name's Sandy, I believe, but I don't know her last name.
Oh, is this TikTok?
Yeah, this is a TikTok.
Oh, okay. I've never seen the desktop version of TikTok before.
Yeah, I never do either. So in this video, she's making cherry chicken burgers, which I think
Cherry
burgers
chicken
is
burgers.
a bit of a
Hmm.
stretch because she mixes ground chicken and cherries into these patties, puts them in the pan with absolutely zero seasoning or any oil to get like a char on it, and then she makes this mayonnaise
Ugh,
cherry mixture
lost
for
me.
the sauce.
Mayonnaise cherry?
With like this like cherry jam.
Bag of wolves.
Yeah.
I
So
need a
she
bag of
stirs this
rolls.
together, layers it on a completely untoasted baguette. Um,
Ah,
so there's no rigidity to that thing. It's just so flimsy, and she's gonna slap her chicken burgers on there with some like arugula or something like that. And then one thing says that her
that's horrifying.
must really love you, or he's just got the worst taste in the world. But like none of this looks appetizing.
He's a cherry farmer.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, who are you serving this to?
Yeah, I would definitely rather go to Captain D's than this.
But so yeah. So some
so bad.
interesting culinary choices there.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask you, so what are some odd food combinations that you've actually seen or like someone's tried to serve you, whether it's at a restaurant or like somebody's house or something like that?
Well, I went to the new Bahama Bucks this weekend,
Oh.
which I love Bahama Bucks. If you don't know what that is, it's basically shaved ice with there's like tons of flavorings. They've got a menu of like 50 different flavorings. And you can get what's called the Bahama Rama Mama, which is bluebell ice cream on the bottom of the shaved ice. And so it's delicious because you eat the shaved ice and it's really good. But then when you get to the ice cream, it's like a double delicious whammy.
Oh yeah.
So I went and I got the black cherry, which is I've had before. It's really good. Well, this is a new one on our side of town in Sengo. And so the manager's walking around like, hey, you have any questions? And I had asked my family earlier because I saw the bottles of all the different flavorings it had. I said, I wonder if the pickle is like a dill pickle or a sweet pickle. Not that that would make that much of a difference for shaved ice and ice cream. But the manager came by and said, hey, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, what does your pickle taste like? And she was like, you want to try it? I'll give you a little sample of it. I was like, sure. And she's like, do you actually want pickled chunks in it? And I said, yeah, let's go all the way. So she brings out the shaved ice pickle with pickled chunks in it.
Oh my goodness.
And I took a bite, totally nasty. It was so gross. It tasted like pickle, and I like pickles, but not in shaved ice form.
I had a similar,
but I did try it
there recently. But I ordered. They have like their like custom combination, not custom you make, but like they're like featured ones that you can order just off the menu. And I really wanted tiger's blood, but Brenda was like, oh, tiger's blood's just a basic flavor. Like get one of these like fancy ones. And I was like, okay, let me try this one. So there's one that came with tiger's blood, and I forget what it was called, but looking back on it, it made the name made sense that it has pickle in it, and I didn't realize that before I ordered it. So I ordered it, and it's like a tiger's blood snow cone, and then it's got pickle chunks and pickle juice like drizzled over it, and then like tahini around it. And I was just very disappointed in the flavor. It was way too sour, and I was not in the mood for pickle chunks at the time. So like the whole experience just completely ruined my Bahama Bucks trip.
Well, next time ask for a sample, because apparently they do that.
Ooh, yeah,
because they don't want you to order one and it be like completely ruined because you don't like it.
Okay.
So you can try it first.
I ate it anyways,
if you don't like it.
That's the type of person I am. But that's good to know.
I've had the tiger's blood there, and that is very good.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a good classic snow cone flavor. That's my favorite.
You can't beat that.
I want to say this isn't necessarily like a weird food, but well, I get it is to me, but in this area of the country, it seems pretty common. But have you ever had chocolate gravy?
Yes.
I never understood like when I first heard I'd never heard of that until I moved to Tennessee, and then when I've heard somebody talk about it, I'm like, oh, are you thinking of like just like dark gravy? Like you just call it chocolate gravy because it's brown. That's what I thought. But then like no, somebody was like, no, it's actually like gravy that they melt chocolate into and then like put it over
Yeah.
biscuits. And I was just like,
It's not like gravy that you get in New Providence.
yeah, no.
Gotta go get some of that chocolate gravy.
But it's such a weird thing to me, and it's such a popular thing here in the South, and I just don't get it.
So did you say you don't really care for it?
No, it's a weird flavor. It's not when I'm thinking of like biscuits and gravy. Like I don't want chocolate flavor in that. That's not what I'm looking for.
So when I was working at FBC, Cal Hampton, who is now here as the Second Mile pastor, he was down in Waynesboro, Tennessee at the time as the pastor, and he called up to FBC and needed some leaders to come down there and speak at their Disciple Now. So I got drafted to go down there, and actually my group was college kids. And so I'm with a group of college kids all weekend. And one morning we got up and the host home said, hey, we're going to make chocolate gravy. And they're all excited. And I had never had it before. I'm like, I was like, chocolate gravy.
Yeah.
And I ate it and I really liked it. Now it's different. So if you get in mind that you're trying to have regular biscuits and gravy, get that out of your mind. But it is really good.
Problem was if I tried it again and I was expecting it, I might like it better.
I actually found a recipe and I've made it a few times. In fact, I think my wife said maybe 2 weeks ago, she said, you haven't made chocolate gravy in a while. And I said, yeah, I need to try that again because the family loved it when I made it. So it's not too difficult. It's pretty good.
Maybe I just had it at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it another shot.
It is different. I mean, I still love classic biscuits and gravy. You can't beat that. But chocolate gravy is kind of a fun one to do every once in a while.
Oh, yeah. A little different. Well, I think we're probably good here. If any of you out there listening would like to tell us some of your crazy food combinations that you've seen or eaten, please drop us a comment either on YouTube or our Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. Any of the socials.
Somewhere.
I smoked everyone just by plopping it out on the table, and I ate it like a sandwich.
Yeah, that's not even a combination. That's just a good old-fashioned Spam can sandwich.
Chunk of Spam.
Oh, yeah. A lot of salt.
Well, we're glad that all of you stayed and listened to our culinary discussion. And hopefully it got your mind off of the crazy, outrageous things that people get outraged about in our world. So go enjoy the Olympics. Go enjoy some good fast food, some Del Taco if you can find it, or Hardee's if that's all you got. And maybe make some weird food combination with cherries. And I think you'll enjoy life much better.
Send it to me. I'll try it live on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. You need some type of cherry flavored soda.
Oh, yeah. But it can't just be like regular cherry soda because that's boring. I got to get something.
Yeah.
Something a little fancy. Oh, we need to do a good soda sommelier segment here coming up. I got some good sodas on deck that are down in my fridge.
Next week. How about that? Yeah. We'll tease that. So if you stayed, next week, soda sommelier. So just get ready for that. All right. Hey, thanks for being with us on the podcast. We're glad you stuck around. We hope you guys have a fantastic week. We love you, and peace out.
Yep.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Hey, guess what's really cool? You can connect with us every single week with a brand new episode by getting on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. But you can also stay in touch with us during the week on our social media pages. Now, I know a lot of you that are listening to this probably already know about our social media page, but here's where we need your help. We need you to share some things. If you like a video, why don't you post it on your page or your stories or something like that? Send links to folks. We want our community to reach out and help us connect with their greater community. All this in an attempt to make DudeFax famous? No, not that. At the end of the day, we want to make God famous, but we want to hear from folks who are walking this Christian walk, and we want to help sharpen those and encourage you and make you laugh and all that fun stuff. So get on our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads, all of the above, and share. Please share. Go to dudefaxpodcast.com and share that too. And hey, if you share, we're going to share back. You see how that goes? It's synergy. So go do it.
Affirmative.